I'm going to educate you about pets and babies and children. If you have a young child, don't let your child stick its fingers in a dog's mouth. Now, I saw a video of a chihuahua and a baby putting its fingers in the dog's mouth, and then the dog got fed up and probably bit the child's fingers. Which, luckily, the child wasn't crying or injured or bleeding. I hope not, but who on earth would let their dog near a young child and allow their young child to put their finger in the dog's mouth? Who on earth would do that? What if the dog really did bite the child? See, this is the thing. If a dog is showing its teeth at a child, snarling and growling, then keep the child away. It's obviously saying, I don't want to be bothered today. That's what. But it can't say it, so it shows body language. In the world, body language means different things. If you see someone pacing back and forth, you know they're agitated. People not smiling, people sort of flapping their hands, it's also a sign of agitation. Crunching your fingers like a fist could be agitation or someone's irritated. When you see those signs in a human or dog, you keep away. In a dog, the sign of aggression would be the dog's back is arched, its hair is up in the air, and it's called heckling, and its tail is under the bum. And its teeth are showing, its ears are folded, it's snarling, then you know to keep away. That dog is showing every sign of aggression. And when you put your fingers in it, it will snap. Now, luckily, that was a small dog. If it's a big dog, that child would have been injured. Now, why did the parent allow the baby to stick its finger in the dog's mouth? What the hell is that? Guess saying that if you touch steam, you'll get burned. If you touch an oven while cooking food, you'll get burned. If you jump off a bridge, you'll break your leg. If you put your hands on a rattlesnake, you'll get bit. It's like doing stupid things will get you hurt. If you follow a stranger on the internet, you could meet a bad person. It could end up worse. I'm just saying that never ever stick your fingers in a dog's mouth. Who on earth would let their kid do that? This is what I don't like, is that video of the chihuahua biting the kid. Like, I really found that upsetting. Now, I don't know what to say about that, but the parent, why are they just sitting there letting the child put its finger in there? Now, obviously, Block took the child's hand out the mouth, but if the dog didn't want to let go, that child would have been injured very badly. And the parents could get in trouble for that. Now, if you have children, you know to tell your child that when you're around a dog, you don't let them stick their fingers in the dog, crawl on the floor near the dog, poke it, pull its tail or ears. That's the way children are bit. Every year, a child is bit by a dog because they didn't follow the rules of staring at a dog is going to cause aggression, and they didn't read the body language. They thought every dog they saw needed petting, but they don't. So next time you're on a walk with your kid, don't let your kid pet every dog it sees. Not every dog is kid friendly. Not every dog is dog friendly. Some dogs are just human friendly and not dog friendly. This is what you have to keep in mind. If you know a dog's aggressive, and you see it off the leash, cross the road, go home right away, stay inside, and call authorities. Don't let people harass you with their dog, because that's torturing you or something. Now, dogs that lunge at other dogs at the fence, it's fence aggression. You keep your dog away from that dog because you know that's going to cause no good is going to come out of that. If you see a dog lunging at you, you call animal control because that is unacceptable. A dog has to be on a leash at all times. It doesn't matter. If you can't control your dog, you keep it on a leash. A dog will be dangerous off the leash if you know that. Because it's a liability. Any dog who's actually. Hold a minute. Hold a minute. I want to do something. Hold a minute. The fly doesn't know. Sort of what I'm trying to tell you is. Sorry about that. I'm gonna come on the line now. If you see. If you see If you see anything like a dog running at you, don't run. You're just encouraging it to run. Throw something at it to distract it and then go and call authorities and go in your house. Go away. If you have to and the dog and no one's around, kick the dog if you have to, but I don't want you to. But if the dog's like biting your legs, not letting you leave, lunging at you to the point no one's gonna help you, then you're on your own. That means you have to do what you gotta do to survive. If you have to, maybe just put the dog in a chokehold until it stops. I don't like saying this, but only if necessary. And then the dog won't bite anyone. But that might get you a liability, might get you arrested for animal cruelty. But if the dog's attacking you and no one's helping you, what do you do, right? But you should always call animal control. Seriously, a dog who's lunging at people on a walk, running at little kids, frightening them it's not a good sign. That's a very bad sign in the beginning. It's probably a rescue dog. And rescue dogs, they're good with people but not other dogs, and you know that's a bad sign, right? Things to remember. If you're gonna buy a dog, read up on the dog's temperament with people around you. Now, dogs may be good with certain age groups like adults and older children, but you have to watch them around very small and young children like 1 or 2 year olds. Because there's been reports every year a child is bitten by a dog, and always a child, not an adult, always a child. Very rare children, adults are bitten every year, but the elderly, small children, and the vulnerable are more affected by dog bites every year. And a lot of the time, since children are bitten by dogs, they end up having a phobia of dogs, and that's serious. A dog will psychologically damage a child if they bite a child, and the child will never recover and become maybe a vegetable state. Or even worse, never ever go near a dog. See, that's the thing. Once a child is bitten, the child will never want to go near dogs. In order to keep that from happening is to keep a dog away from a child. A child doesn't understand that not all dogs want to be petted. Once you see a dog with its tail under its leg, its ears folded, its teeth showing, it's snarling and growling, and it's heckling, stay away from that dog. That dog is obviously saying, I don't want to be bothered, back off. And the thing is, if you don't back off with dogs, sometimes they bite. I had to euthanize my Cocker Spaniel because he bit 12 people after a car accident. It destroyed his brain. Now, I didn't want to have to do that, and it really upset me, folks. The thing about that, it was very disturbing. I wouldn't think that the dog I bought from a pet store would end up attacking 12 people out of all the people in the world. And it was very sad because the dog, you know, it's a beautiful dog. It was a Cocker Spaniel and had freckles. When we named him Cracker after a TV show called Cracker. And the sad thing was, Cracker ended up attacking and growling and snarling at people, which was sad. Very, very sad. And what I say about that is Cracker had temperamental issues. And he was a dog I had in the past. I named him Cracker because I liked that name, and I used to watch a show called Cracker with Robbie Coltrane in it. He's a British actor. He's from Scotland, I think, Glasgow. I'm not sure, but he's very Scottish in his accent. So, yeah, his name's Robbie Coltrane. He was in the show Cracker. That's why I named my dog that. Now, the dog I have now is named after the Mistress of Darkness, Elvira. She used to have a show in the 80s, Castle Elvira, it was called, where Elvira would talk about things, and Wolfman was in it. It was a good show. It was in the 80s. There used to be a show called Castle Elvira. And that's why I named my dog Elvira. She was an 80s icon. I never forget 80s icon. And I remember a show I used to watch in the 80s called Highway to Heaven. And it was starring Michael Landon and Victor French. And they were both angels sent by God to help people who were in trouble or needed help or had difficulties, or children who had parents who were controlling and all that. It was a really good show. It taught you how to get along with people. It taught you many things. Some shows teach you how we should get along with each other, but not everyone does. So it's like dogs. Some dogs like other dogs, and some dogs will hate other dogs. And you know that's a bad sign. So, next time you have a young child near your chihuahua, don't let it put its fingers in its mouth. I wouldn't like that because that would be terrifying. Because if the dog didn't let go because it was so aggressive, then why do you let a child near a dog that is so aggressive? That is very dangerous. That baby could have been seriously hurt by that chihuahua. Tiny or not, a dog can be aggressive. The most aggressive breed dogs are chihuahuas and toy breeds because they're so tiny. They have to defend their territory because they're so small. Any kind of small dog is going to be aggressive than the big dog. Big dogs are less aggressive than small dogs, but there are big dog aggressive breeds too, where if you don't train any dog, it will become aggressive. Small or big, you still have to train any size dog. It doesn't matter. A dog is a dog. And treating your dog like a baby is going to make it aggressive. And that's the person's fault because they're holding the dog, they're putting it on its knee, they're treating it like a human baby. That is not going to help the dog in the long run. If you do that, you're going to make a dog selfish, entitled, and aggressive. That's why little dogs are so spoiled, because people carry them in their arm, they put them in a purse. That's not where a dog belongs. You should put it on the ground with a leash. A dog is allowed on the ground, a tiny dog too, should be put on the ground and walk it. I don't care. That's not how you treat a dog. It's not a baby, it's a dog. It doesn't need diapers because it's a dog. Well, some people think that because it's too lazy to walk. I don't believe in that. Any dog can walk on a leash. I've seen a chihuahua on a leash. Actually, they bark a lot, chihuahuas. They're very annoying that way. That's why I like labs because they're not as loud as chihuahuas. They don't make a noise disturbance like chihuahuas. They're very good. Not that I have anything against chihuahuas. I like all dogs. It's because I'm a good natured person and I like dogs, but some dogs are just so aggressive you can't even reason with them. Like little chihuahuas, you can't even look at them, and even just looking at them, they bark at you. I mean, come on, people look at dogs all the time and they don't. I look at my yellow lab all the time, she doesn't bark at me. That's just ridiculous. I mean, you're gonna have a dog, you're gonna have to control it. If it lunges at everyone, why do you have it off the leash? I don't get it. A dog has to be in control to be off a leash. And anyways, in the city, I don't think you should let your dog off the leash. There are leash laws that stop that, you know? Sometimes you can get paid a fine if you let your dog off a no leash dog park. You could. Actually, I got a story. One time we took Elvira to a nature trail and we let her off the leash. We're not thinking very well. Then a park ranger came and said, you can't let your dog off the leash here because it's not an off leash dog park. And we didn't know that because no one told us that. We thought it was okay because she's been doing that quite a lot. But then we thought, hey, I don't think that's a good idea. I think maybe that woman's right who told us that, whoever she was. And my dad decided to put a leash on my dog and walk it. So that was fine. That was a problem before. We didn't even know that. Next time we go to a dog park, we make sure it's not a dog park where they have leash laws. And if it is, we'll keep the dog on the leash. That's how it works. Yes, some parks don't allow dogs off leash because some dogs just don't behave off the leash. They become fine. But it's funny, when you let a dog off the leash, it's a totally different dog. It behaves better than on the leash. Usually aggression happens because the dog's on the leash. When you let it free, it won't be aggressive. Only if it's on the leash. But that is called leash aggression, and it's common in most dog breeds. When you see that, you have to figure out why it's aggressive on the leash. And maybe get like a gentle leader or a halty to control the dog that pulls, and that way you'll be able to control it on a leash so it get used to the leash. And also you can take the dog in a fenced in backyard and drop the leash and have it walk on the leash to get used to the leash. You gotta let it get used to the leash. Same as a training collar. It's not gonna hurt a dog, all of them. And you don't buy shock collars or choke chains or that. That's not acceptable. And prong collars, I do not recommend. That could cut the dog. You want a training collar that won't cut the dog. Like a gentle leader, a halty is the best. I don't recommend chain collars, choke collars, collars that hurt the dog. You can't do that with a dog. You have to get a collar that doesn't hurt the dog. And you have to test it on the dog, you know? It depends. I don't recommend a harness that will encourage pulling because it doesn't control the dog pulling. You want like a gentle leader where you can control the pulling. Or a halty is better because it controls the dog's pulling. You have to get used to it. See, this is it. Some training collars have been a success. I've used gentle leaders on my dog Sasha, and she stopped pulling after using it. And I've used it on Taffy and it helped. What I mean by that is that I think the best training collar, in my experience, is a gentle leader, a halty, or a head halter. Now, you don't want one that has a choke chain. You don't want to use a electric shock collar because they're kind of cruel. Some people even use e-collars. Now, if you do it properly and you put it to a low setting, you will not hurt the dog. It just gives it a little shock when it does something that you don't want it to do. Another way to stop the dog, discourage it from barking too much, is to drop a book on the ground. At least the noise is enough to distract it from doing that, or put something in its mouth so it won't have to bark. You need to distract your dog from barking at people, because some people complain about barking dogs, or they come to your house and pound on the door. You really don't want a neighbor at your door complaining about your dog or shushing it. Because if your dog barks too much, it will be shushed by neighbors. Now, what I mean by that is because people aren't controlling their dog's barking time. It's fine a dog barks during the day, but not all day, but at certain times of the day. If someone's napping, it's not fine. It's okay a dog barking. It's not going to hurt the dog, but it's going to annoy the human. If it's causing a noise disturbance, bring it inside. If it barks too much, bring it inside. Then the dog learns that it can't get away with this. It's not appropriate. You put your foot down. You don't allow it to control you, a dog. Like a child, you don't allow a child to control you, you don't allow a dog to control you. So there's a big difference. And that person who let their child stick their fingers in the mouth, that was not wise because that little baby could have been hurt. Now, I don't agree to that, but I think maybe they thought it was fun. But it won't be fun if their child was injured by a dog, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it won't be fun if the child was crying from that. Because it had all the signs of aggression, that little chihuahua. And they should have kept the child away from the chihuahua. It was saying something and it ignored it. And it should have read the body language of the dog, showing its teeth, baring its teeth at a child, growling and snarling is a sign you don't let your child stick the finger in the mouth. That is really stupid. That child could have been hurt. Chihuahuas aren't that kid friendly. You have to watch your dogs around children. Never ever leave a child unattended with a dog. No matter how friendly your dog is, no matter how cute and cuddly it is, you never ever leave a young child or baby alone with a dog. Because you never know if the child could sneak up on the dog and it doesn't like it and it will suddenly bite the child because it will think it's a rabbit, or the child might crawl towards the dog or hug it and the dog isn't huggable. What happens then? I mean, why do people do that? Leave their child home alone with a dog? That's the most dumbest thing in the world to do. Not all dogs are kid friendly. Some are good with older children and adults, but not so much young babies or children because they're like aliens to a dog. Because they're too small and the dog can't see them and it might frighten the dog. And what a dog can't see, it might bite the child because it will think that it's a threat. Even though it's not, the dog sees it that way. Everything's black and white to a dog. So, dogs are, I don't know if that's a myth about dogs being colorblind. I'll look that up, folks. I'm not sure. Some people say they're colorblind because they can only see certain colors, and some colors aren't recognizable to a dog.